Good morning, everyone. Here from the historical part of Hamburg, right at the Speicherstadt, at the Digital Hub Logistics. I would like to start off by telling you a few words about why we're doing this event. So Hamburg is the most important logistic location in Northern Europe, with its port, third largest container port within the European Union as it had. And there's about 6,000 established companies within the logistics sector in Hamburg, and employing around 250,000 people, also together with the surrounding areas. So the logistics sector is quite big for Hamburg. Also, we have around 82 startups currently set up here. And there's players such as the Digital Hub Logistics, which we'll get to know in a second, or know already. And Plug and Play, the global accelerator, has its headquarters here with a focus on logistics and supply chain. So also logistics is the third largest sector within Germany when it comes to Germany as a whole. So logistics is very important in Germany and in Hamburg. Israel, on the other side, is known as the innovation hotbed. There's coming a lot of disruptive technologies and innovative startups out of Israel. This is why we decided to join forces with the Digital Hub Logistics and Elnet to organize this exclusive event today, and bring together 4 Israel startups together who will pitch today in front of a hand-selected group of corporates. And then we will have a discussion as well, bringing really logistics in Israel and in Germany into the center. My name is Veronica Reichbuth. I'm the director of the startup unit Hamburg, which is part of Hamburg Invest. Hamburg Invest is the business development entity of the city of Hamburg, and we provide a range of free business services for startups, but also established companies, all free of charge. So when it comes to startups, or established companies, all sorts of questions, please do contact me. And I'm now very happy to hand over to Johannes Berg, who is the host of today, and he will tell you a little bit about the Digital Hub Logistics.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Well, shalom and good morning. Welcome from the Digital Hub Logistics from my side. I think I'm not the only host of this event. We are like a trio, so to say, Veronica, Carsten and me joining forces to what Veronica has already said, bring together a hand-selected, and I'm really excited to get to know them as well, a group of hand-selected logistics and AI startups from Israel, to our corporate bodies that are part of the Digital Hub Logistics, because what we will see this morning is in essence exactly what we do all year long. We try to bring together innovative ideas, innovative process, product and business model innovations with established companies, amongst them also looking and listening now, Bayersdorf, DHL, Volkswagen Group Logistics, the brothers Heinemann here, a big family-owned business from Hamburg. So that's in essence what we do. And if there's one positive or one good thing about the last 6 months that we have experienced around the world is that besides the physical border that we all experience, it has really, from my point of view, taken up speed to meet each other, even if we don't meet each other physically. So we've had a number of these events over the last month in the digital room, where a fruitful exchange can happen between the ideas that are proposed on the one hand, and we will hear them from the 4 startups, and the needs, on the other hand, not only of the corporates that are listening today, but of the broader audience, of the broader network that we combine here at the Digital Hub Logistics. That being said, please feel free to ask as many questions as possible during the next hour and a half. We will do that via menti.com. It's relatively easy to do. You can either use the QR code that you now see on the screen and scan it, or you go to menti.com and enter the code 1776136. Whenever you have any questions towards Veronica, towards me, towards Carsten, or any of the startups, just type in your questions and we'll follow them up and get them answered, hopefully. One more thing from my side to add is that all of this, with your permission, will be recorded. So in case you have an urgent meeting halfway through this session, don't worry, everything will be recorded and you can look that up afterwards. As we are in a closed shop format, I'm not going to say Chatham House rules, but it's a closed, intimate group. Also, don't hesitate to ask any also even maybe provocative questions. All contacts will be shared after this session. And I think now I have talked enough about the Digital Hub. You know a little bit about Hamburg. And it's now a great pleasure really to bring the third host into the picture of this morning. The host of Elnet, in person of Carsten Ovens, who has really friendly followed the development of the Digital Hub Logistics over the last 2 years as well. I remember us sitting here in autumn 2018 for the first time together. So I'm very happy that we were able to join forces this morning and bring you into the stream, into the loop. Good morning, Carsten.
Good morning, Johannes. Moin and shalom, everyone else here on our stream and our session today. It's my very pleasure to very quickly introduce the European Leadership Network and give you some insights into the startup nation Israel. Not that the startups we're going to hear later on wouldn't speak for the whole scene themselves, but we agreed that I should start with some basics at the very beginning. So starting with Elnet, and I'm proud to be the executive director of the organization now for almost 1.5 years. Still very Hamburg bound, as my previous role as member of parliament was to foster the digital economy there. So that's where Johannes, Veronica and myself met quite a while ago already, and we kept in touch. And now with Elnet, we also continue this success story, building bridges between Hamburg or overall Germany and Israel. So Elnet, in a nutshell, we are a non-profit organization. We are dedicated to strengthening the relations between Europe and Israel based on shared democratic values and strategic interests. We do have several offices across Europe, plus an office in Tel Aviv. And what we do is we bring together leaders from politics, from the business sector, from the society, who share our idea of building more bridges and collaborating closer between Europe and Israel. We focus our work on 3 pillars. The first is foreign and security policy. The second is combating anti-Semitism. And the third, and today the most important one, is focusing on innovation. So we therefore provide unique opportunities for mutual dialogue and encourage exchanges among, in this case, German corporates and Israeli startups. And in order to do that, we host sessions like today with excellent partners like the Digital Hub Logistics and Hamburg Invest. But we also partner with large organizations like Startup Nation Central, who is basically the place to go in the Israeli startup sector. So another NGO that speaks for the whole startup sector in Israel. And among those, next to those, we have several partners we collaborate with in order to build these bridges. So having said that about Elnet, what are now the major challenges for the German and also in that case for the economy in Hamburg? We believe you can basically focus on 3 things. The first that struck me quite a while ago as the association Bitkom came out with a study asking their own members how they perceive their strategy in digitization or technologization. And most of them said, well, it's more or less satisfying. And even every third German company did not even have their own strategy how to digitalize their corporate. So having said that, the smaller the companies are, also quite an interesting finding from this study. So the classical German Mittelstandscompany, the smaller the companies are, the more they feel being left behind and missing opportunities. And this is why we at Elnet believe, together with the Digital Hub Logistics and Hamburg Invest, that Israel actually offers plenty of opportunities to overcome those three major challenges. To give you some numbers about Israel, which is also known and called the startup nation. So by today, it's far more than 6,000 striving, technological, innovative startups, several large exits over the past years that actually feed this myth about this startup nation. But it's much more than a myth if you just look at the numbers. So, for example, just last year, we had in Israel 11 new unicorns. If you would just compare that with any other any other European nation, so for example, Germany, and I mean, we are talking about a country, if you compare Germany and Israel, Germany is like 9 times the size in terms of population, just taking that number. So if you compare 11 unicorns from Israel, we just can offer 4 unicorns from Germany. So speaking about the startup sector, that already tells you quite a story, how valuable indeed the Israeli scene is. And to split this up maybe in some further numbers, looking at sectors, as today we're talking about the logistical sector. So for example, in the area of artificial intelligence, which is one of the probably driving technologies for the logistical sector, we have far more than 1,000 startups in Israel from different industries, obviously, but that could actually help the German / the Hamburg logistical sector. But also in other industries, like, for example, cyber, we have more than 300 innovative startups in Israel. We have more than 400 growing startups that are located in the fintech sector. Among them, more than 100 startups that are focused on the blockchain technology. So having said that, you can already imagine there is a lot of potential for German corporates, but also for the smaller German Mittelstand companies. And I don't want to take this lecture, this short importance too long. We could talk for hours now why Israel is so strong. Obviously, it's a mix of high investment from the public sector, but also from the private sector. Actually, the Israeli army, the IDF, is playing a major role in educating young people, but also the Israeli universities are for sure starting points for this striving startup sector. And last but not least, obviously, it is the mindset of the nation, the chutzpah that helps young entrepreneurs to just give it a go, to just try, do, and learn by doing. So to end up this little introduction, we believe there are 3 major hurdles for German corporates if they want to get more engaged with Israeli startups. So the first is usually a lack of access to the market. The second is a deeper understanding of the market, which are the relevant actors, which are the driving startups. And then sometimes it also is a lack of internal resources. By the way, those 3 major hurdles have been found by the Bertelsmann Foundation in a recent study. So this is where Elnet, together with our partners, so today with the Digital Hub Logistics and Hamburg Invest, but also with our own office in Tel Aviv and our partners like Startup Nation Central and others, comes into the game. So we can just offer to be your point of contact or your trusted advisor, gaining a better understanding and an access to the Israeli startup scene. So having said that, it's my pleasure now to hand back to Veronica, who is going to introduce the startups. By the way, maybe just to mention that at the end. So when we are scouting for the needs of German corporates, we do that in a very detailed way together with our experienced partners on the ground in Israel. So that's also something you need in order to have the best match possible between the German corporates and the innovative Israeli startups. So let's see what's in today. I'm very much looking forward to the pitches and also to the discussion later on. And yeah, as Johannes and Veronica also said, please feel free to get in touch with us anytime if you have questions also afterwards. Thank you very much. And Veronica, again, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Carsten, for this thorough and good insights into Israel as innovation system. Maybe some points we can later pick up for the discussion. Yeah, I now have the pleasure of introducing you the 4 startups. The first one is a Wise Shelf, an IoT solution for retail shelves. Wise Shelf itself was founded in 2016 and has raised $2.6 million up to date. They're currently in an additional financing round. So far, they're operating in the UK, US, and also in Israel. They have around about 40 employees and 4,000 IoT devices installed. Shalom Nakdimom, the CEO and co-founder, will now pitch his startup.
It'll be David Morgan pitching. On behalf, I work with Shalom and I'm the VP of Sales and work with Shalom across various territories. I'm speaking to you today from a very windy Scotland. So first of all, I'd like to start with just a short intro video to give you an idea of how Wise Shelf works in action. So if I could ask you to run the video, please.
Wise Shelf provides a solution to the greatest logistical challenge of the retail world, on-shelf availability. Our system provides real-time visibility of each and every shelf throughout the retail store. Wise Shelf developed a smart shelf that utilizes light sensor technology to send real-time data from the retail shelf to the cloud and to your employees. The Wise Shelf system provides critical information which visualizes retail shelf performance. These include on-shelf availability of each and every product throughout the store, real-time insights and important business data on each product, real-time alerts that are sent to the employee's computer or mobile app on missing items, optimizing the shelf stock and replenishment workflow. Detection of foreign misplaced item on the shelf. And last but not least, better planogram compliance and much more sales per meter.
Okay, thank you. So hopefully that gives you an initial view of what we do, and now let's go into that in a bit more detail. Quite a nice quote here, I think, from a famous writer and poet about the importance of these questions. And of course, more important actually to be able to get an answer to them. So for example, the how that we'd like to ask is how much stock have I actually got, or importantly not got on the shelf? Where exactly are the products? So are they at the back, at the front? Do they need pulling forward? And what, in terms of what products are present? So do we have the right items according to a planogram or a map that we may have laid out of what products should actually physically be there? And when do the key events that impact inventory in our business actually take place? So when do the out of stock events happen in a retail environment? Particularly, when are we seeing sweep events or items being swept from the shelf? When is replenishment taking place? And then, of course, the very important question is who can provide a solution to answer these questions in real time? And you'll notice I haven't addressed the why. We'll come on to that a little later on. Well, the answer, of course, as you would expect me to say, is Wise Shelf. And what we do is we turn shelves into cognitive connected devices, connected in real time through the cloud so that you can get real-time insights from those shelves as to what's going on with your inventory. The solution is modular and scalable, and we have thousands of shelves installed across a number of territories, Europe, US, and Israel, importantly. So how do we do this? The first thing is in terms of answering the how much and the where. So the first thing we have is an array of light sensors installed in metal, what we call a shelf topper. We put this on top of the normal shelves, and this array of light sensors detect 1,000 levels of light. So we can tell the difference between products, shadows, the different light patterns at the back of a shelf, and it learns over time through our software what the light patterns are, and provides in real time accurate information on what stock is actually sitting on those shelves. We also at the front of those shelves have LEDs of different colors, and this can help employees to position products when they're replenishing, identify planogram changes and things like that in terms of how products alternate, and also can be triggered on particular events, such as lighting up when a product is physically out of stock or very low in stock on that shelf. We also provide high-res shelf cameras. These are positioned on the shelf and look across the aisle at the bays opposite. One camera able to see as many as 2 complete bays, and can be triggered manually, remotely, can also triggered on events, and also can be scheduled to run. And one of the things we can do with these cameras to answer the what products question is to look at what products we can see and match that against what should be there, and identify, as you see on the image on the right, where there are mismatches of products that shouldn't be in that particular place, or even things that we don't recognize. Maybe that's a completely new item that's actually not been pulled into the system. We also optionally provide wireless power. So the solution can be directly powered from power supplies if that's available in the shelf area where you're using it. But we can also use a special unit using laser light to continually power and recharge the batteries that are driving the shelves and the cameras. This is a perfectly safe solution. You see a picture here of me standing in the way. It actually stops transmitting when it sees an obstacle and will carry on again afterwards. This allows us to power as many as 100 shelves and 8 cameras without any need to return to change batteries or anything like that. And also the local controller can keep the entire system running for a month if for any reason the power charging is not available. So moving on to the when question, in our software in the cloud, we provide real-time actionable alerts, for example, to send messages to employees on things that need to be replenished or re-merchandised, and also insights as to when things happen. You see the chart on the left showing very granular details on exactly when particular events happen. So for example, if you identify that item is continually going out of stock on the shelf early on in the day, that's clearly a much bigger issue to deal with than if it's towards the end of the day where maybe you're going to do a replenishment run overnight anyway. The insights are very granular, so we go right the way down to individual product, and you can see things like availability over time. What are the highest average availability products? Maybe this can give you insights as to where we're carrying more inventory than is actually needed. And this can be looked at various levels from the product right up through your product hierarchy, such as subcategories and categories. So coming finally to the why question, why shelf? Well, because why shelf has delivered proven results. We've seen as much as 50% reduction in shelf out of stocks and a great improvement in the replenishment process, so making the process of replenishment much more efficient. From a planogram point of view, getting up to 98% accuracy on the right products being where they should be on the shelves, and then ultimately a 2.5% increase in sales. We've seen results of that in the categories where we've actually deployed the solution. So thank you very much for listening. I know we have a time for questions, and there's my contact details if anybody wishes to be in touch after the event.
Thank you very much, David. Coming to the questions now. The first question that we got is, at what cost does your hardware and software come for single shop or shopping? I repeat the question.
Yeah,
I do repeat the question once. At what cost does your hardware and software come for single shop or shopping?
Yes, so obviously that depends on size of shelves, number of shelves, and so on. And that can mean it can vary a lot. So I tend to like to start to answer that question by talking about return on investment. We would expect a properly scoped project to give a return on investment for the client in 6 to 9 months. Shelves can vary greatly in price, as I say, so it's probably a little misleading to give specifics. But if you think about ROI, and if anybody would like some specifics afterwards, if you give me some scope, I can give some accurate pricing.
Okay. The next question. Are you allowed to mention some of the clients you serve in the US, UK, and Israel?
Yes, so our flagship client in Israel is Superfarm, which everybody I'm sure on this call will know, certainly from Israel, is a major drugstore chain. And they are in fact also sit on the board and an investor in the company as well. They were that interested in the solution. We've also worked with retailers like hypermarkets and supermarkets. We've worked with Iceland in the UK, which is a convenience and small supermarket chain, about 700 stores they own. And we're also working with some manufacturers as well. So people like Coca-Cola, because the way the solution works, it's very easy for a manufacturer to be monitoring and managing their inventory at the retailer shelf, particularly if they're doing direct store deliveries. It's very important for them.
One more question. Which devices can the real-time alert be sent to? Do you offer these devices for sale as well?
We can send the alerts to any device. We use APIs to do that. Typically, we would be sending alerts to staff handheld terminals. So these could be any of the major manufacturers, anything essentially that can either run a browser or where we can API into a specific application. Obviously, if you've got staff using a handheld terminal with applications on it, they don't want to be using 2 or 3. So we would push our alerts into that same application. So everything's there in one place. But it's API driven. We can actually push alerts and insights into any system.
And then one more question. Could you explain again how you detect misplaced products in a shelf?
Yes, so this depends on whether one's using cameras or not. So first of all, even without cameras, we can get some insight onto a misplaced product because typically people don't put one item onto the shelf and that would tend to indicate something's been taken and put back. But with the cameras, we can actually see specifically what items are there on the shelf, match that using image recognition against the planogram, and that will actually tell us whether items are in the wrong place or not. In fact, even without using our cameras, we have had clients who've used cameras on mobile devices, showing our software and actually taking pictures that way as well. But it's the image recognition that actually does the clever part.
Okay, thank you. I see there's more questions, but we have 3 more startups to go, and there will be more questions. David, we will share you. I mean, you shared your contact details already, but we will also share them afterwards, so you can discuss bilateral those questions.
Okay.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the second startup we have hand selected for today is Kacha Robotics. Founded in 2014, currently at roughly 55 employees, raised $20 million so far, and is operating in Israel, the US, and also recently opened a US subsidiary to expand their business in North America. And Michael Kahn, the VP Business Development, is today representing Kacha Robotics.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me well? Hello?
At least I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I will begin. Thank you. So very nice to be on this event today. We will begin on a short introduction about our company. So we are a robotics company, as was described, with a vision to provide flexible automation and robotics to the logistics sector and to any company operating warehouses, with the idea that we should adapt to the warehouse and not vice versa, what was usually made in the past, meaning that we want to adapt to existing infrastructure in terms of flooring, using standard boxes, standard shelves that can help arrive and almost automatically run our robots. So we have two kinds of robots that we are providing, which are a big robot and a small robot that are running around the shelves. The big robot can reach up to 3.5 and in 2021, 5 meters high, and a small robot that is taking from the first level of shelving the boxes to bring to a picking station. So we are working in a brownfield environments at a level of a box and in the world of the unit or each picking. We are handling the whole process from inbound to outbound where the order is ready. And we are doing that with a few blocks or layers. The first one, as we define ourselves, is on the software, because robots are nice, and I think that in terms of mechanics, it's quite a success what we achieved. But first of all, we define ourselves as a software company. We have almost half of our team is composed of software on 2 layers. The first one is the software of the robots, that is running the robot to make sure that we have the fastest run that we could get and the best precision for our robots, and also the precision of taking boxes, bringing boxes. Everything is composed by software that is within the robots. And the second element is what we have in the cloud, which is like the big brother that is telling the robots what to do, where to go, and what box to take, to bring, etc. So this is the first layer that is the most important and most critical, that we are working on 5 years together with the fleet management to make sure that we have the best performance for the client. The second element, as we described, is the robots. And here we are all the time improving the specs of our robot to make sure that we can take heavier boxes, higher boxes, and run faster. So this is also an ongoing work. And the third element, the third block, is the workstation that we have that are the connection between humans and the robots on the warehouse. And we have like few kind of stations, but the first one is the inbound station, where you just put some boxes on shelves and the robot will come to pick them up. And the second element is more on the picking station, where the boxes will be brought by the robot to the picking station, and the person will be able to pick boxes, the units from the boxes. So on the software side, very high level, since we are working in a sterile environment, we can run pretty fast our robots, so up to 2 meters per second for the small one, and everything because it's controlled by the cloud can let us, design the path of the robot to see what is not the shortest but the fastest path for the robots in a constant way. So this is the first algorithm and the core element of our software. The second one is more on what's happening in the warehouse, where to put the boxes, when to bring them to the picking station. All this kind of thing is also part of our optimization to make sure that when we bring a box, we'll try to use it for as much orders as possible. So maybe 1, 2, 5, 10. And at the picking station, we have a put hole and the ability to manage as many orders as the client wants. So this is also part of the algorithm to manage inventory and to manage the orders in order to make sure that first we meet the deadline, but we are bringing as less boxes as possible to lower the number of robots and have the best ROI for the client. Third element, for sure, we are cloud-based, so meaning that we just arrive with some wireless equipment and that's it. And the last element is on the integration with WMS that is really straightforward. We have an API, and it's just like discussing between the client and ourselves to make sure that all the information in constant, like in real time, is up to date. On the robot themselves, the two robots have different tasks. The big one is responsible for inbound, responsible for the warehouse optimization, where to put the boxes, and also responsible for what we call parallel picking, is bringing boxes to the picking station where maybe they will stay for a while. For many reasons, it can be because there are many units to pick, or because we know that this box will be emptied in 5 minutes, so there is no reason to bring it back when the 1 or 2 units are picked for this box. The second robot is more responsible for the fast transportation of the goods, and to be sure that when we reach the picking station, it will arrive and stay as less as possible as at the picking station. The last element on our solution is what we are adaptive, scalable, and responsive. And this is really our motto, because on the adaptiveness, what we said is that we want to adapt to the warehouse itself, no matter the state of the warehouse, the floor of the warehouse. We want to enter and to be sure that we can run our robots. The scalability is a key part, because sometimes we can begin on like 1,000 square meter and we want to double the surface. Then the client just have to add more shelves, but nothing more, nothing special. It's a matter of hours, days, and then we can scale. And this scalability sometimes is key for some customers. And we really see as a flexibility that we can offer to the client. If tomorrow there is a way to change the warehouse, change the layout, change the floor, we can provide that. And the last element is the responsiveness, meaning that since we are working with standard shelves or standard equipment, if tomorrow the client wants to enter the warehouse and do some manual picking because there is some specific peak or specific reason, we can just put the robots on the side and do the picking manually. The WMS is updating us, and then we can resume to work. So this is also this, in terms of risk mitigation, a key element for with working with our solution. So all those 3 elements show one key element is the flexibility of our solution, and this is what we want to offer to our clients. So thank you. Do you have maybe any questions?
Thank you so much, Michael. Unfortunately, there were some technical issues. We couldn't see your presentation. So I would like to ask you to share, if you have any visual graphics, to share them now so the audience can at least better understand what your solution looks like. And then the entire presentation we will share afterwards with the audience.
Do you see my screen? Okay, so here maybe is the best picture about our solution with the small robot and the big robot. As you can see, we can work with low ceiling or high ceilings, and the shelves are quite standard, and the box are carton boxes. So everything is like the flooring also is something standard. So this shows maybe the best picture of our solution and what we do in an existing warehouse in brownfield environment. So we have different business models based on the needs of our clients. So for one client in the US that we are working right now, it's more like we are selling a full solution composed of hardware and software, but we can also offer some flexibility on the business model, offering some leasing or capex, and even pay as you use, or what we call robot as a service, when we provide robot. And every time there is one unit that is picked, or one line that is picked from a box, then there is some payment of a few cents. In Europe, so we are integrating with a client 3PL based in the Netherlands, and we will deploy our solution hopefully in Germany very soon. So this is our scale in Europe. We're progressing very well towards some pilots as well with other companies in Europe. And right now we are live in the US, and in a few, let's say, weeks from now, also in Israel. It will be on the west part around Düsseldorf.
Share the full presentation with the audience afterwards, so then questions can be addressed personally. Okay, so the third startup is Logino, an IoT solution for shipping containers. Also founded in 2014, the startup's almost completely bootstrapped. And in the pre-talk to today, the founder Shahar said that he doesn't work with a big team, but they're doing great things. And he referred to this by an initiative that they did last year, where they selected one shipping company whose entire container fleet was to be digitalized. And the winner of this initiative was a Brazilian company called Login Logista Intermodal, sorry. And well, I'm sure that Shahatal, the founder, can tell us more about this, and of course about his business as well, Logino.
Okay, so thank you very much. Hello and welcome to the wonderful world of shipping containers. Big boxes, whom you all know, carrying very valuable cargo, partly your cargo. More than $6 trillion worth of cargo every year, more than 120 million container trips around the world, and nobody knows what's going on. I'm sure that you can very much relate to this picture. Lots of invisibility, lack of visibility that's causing hundreds of billions of dollars of damages because of this blindness. Whether it's logistics inefficiencies, customs blindness, insurance blindness, and mostly security blindness. I like this number the most. 99.9% of cargo is not even checked, and that's real. This is a car manufacturing plant in Guangzhou in China. Imagine what happens if one of the bolts of the engines of the car doesn't arrive on time and you have to shut down the production line. It's a mess because of one small part. The supply chain is getting critical by the month. And it's not just the problem of the cargo owners, it's the problem of the shipping companies, freight forwarders, insurance, customs, homeland security. The entire logistics chain is blind when it comes to shipping containers. This is us, Logino, it's short for Logistic Innovation, and our mission is to apply the Internet of Things to create what we call Contopia. Contopia is a term that we use to describe a world where every shipping container in the world is smart and connected. In fact, if we turn it the other way around, we take dump boxes and we turn them into data miners. And we argue that this data is super valuable. It's new data that has not been mined before regarding the physical aspects of the container's voyage, and it provides complete visibility and control. This is unparalleled, and this is something that the logistics sector, especially in shipping containers, had not experienced before as a standard level. And what exactly are we doing? To know that, we have to know what is being done in the world today. Today, you get offered, the shippers themselves get offered solutions that are removable on the container. You have to install them and then you have to take it out because otherwise the container goes away and you don't see it again. Whereas our solution is eventually getting to the same shippers, but by partnering with the shipping companies in the middle, converting entire fleets to smart shipping containers, not just one or two or 100, entire fleets at one setup cost. We're able to completely transform a fleet and give the same, if not better, values to the customers at a much lower price. So using military technology that was previously unseen in the commercial sector, we developed a brain for the container that installs on a standard container port. It's leagues higher than your standard GPS tracker. If I want to resemble it, it's very much like a smartwatch that knows how many steps you've taken, how well you've slept, but for shipping container. One of the features that we're working on it as an example is Solus VGM weighing of the container just by the vibrations and the acoustics. So it looks like a GPS tracker, but it's really, really, really deep tech. And the nice thing about it that we already have a global infrastructure already set up, because it replaces a standard part of the container, which the industry knows how to install today. Coupled by simple but very smart predictive analytics software, we're really able to transition customers into just-in-time operation. And we do this because we turn the gateways, which is the tracking that you have now, we turn it into real time. We, in fact, make each mile of the voyage, each meter of the voyage, a gateway by itself, coupled with the insight that we're able to extract from our IoT device. It's a whole new game when shipping stuff around the world. And the story that I wanted to finish with is the story that was said in the introduction, is how we selected our first customer. We were in early 2019 with great idea, good business model, technology is proven. We got nice traction as partners, but we didn't know if the market is ready. We didn't know if there would be a shipping company that would be willing to take the plunge and transform their entire container fleet to smart containers. This is something that has not been done before. So we said, let's be creative and issue a competition. We invited all shipping companies around the world, bar the top 20. So from the 21st and below, to submit an application to a competition that was announced last year in Shipping in Norway, in Oslo. And we asked them, let's say that tomorrow morning your entire fleet is smart, what would you do with it? It was really nice. We got 17 applications from around the world. We shortlisted 4. And as previously mentioned, usually I do this as a suspense and everything, but the suspense was spoiled at the start. But in any case, it's old news, relatively old news. The company who won this was a Brazilian player, a public company operating in the cabotage business, so the eastern part of Latin America, one of the top 3 players there. And the nice thing, we got tons of press about the competition. So in the industry, they know about us. But the nice thing is here, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when a company goes digital. It's a public company, so it's very interesting to see the stock. Very traditional until we announce June 6th, and then it starts to behave like a technology company. Stock jumps, and the market responds very favorably on just by declaring that they're going to go digital. It's really, as I've said, the first time that we make Contopia a reality, a complete shipping company going digital with lots more use cases that we're doing in what we call Contopia Labs, which are really advanced use cases like scale, like I said, scaleless weight measurement, black box with insurance, partnering with really leaders to issue new business models, new ideas, and that's it. We invite you to think outside the container. Think large, Thank you.
So much, Shaha. I have some questions for you. So the first question is, what networks do you use to track your containers in Contopia? The GPS, GSM, or LARA?
LoRa.
LoRa. I'm not an expert. So I'm a generalist. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So there are standards that are being issued. I think leading it is a standards institution, a new standards institution that dictates or tries to dictate all the smart container standards. LoRa is one of their let's say recommended methods of communication. We know that LoRa is a little bit even sometimes illegal in several parts of the world. So except for LoRa, which we support but we don't use currently because we need a global solution, we do everything. Short range, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, everything. And at land, we mainly use cellular. And we have a really nice Contopia Labs use case that connects to smart vessels or connected vessels with our good partner Marlink. So even on the vessel, you would have connectivity for the shipping companies that would work with us. So it's end-to-end real-time connectivity.
Okay, thank you. The next one is concerning the price. How much is one tracker?
So we don't sell it as a tracker. We go to a shipping company and we estimate it as a project. There are values that are apparent when the fleet goes smart, and we look at it as an ROI perspective. The example that I can give you with the Brazilian shipping company, we signed a 6-year deal with them. That is worth, and that is, by the way, the reason why we skipped our A round, and that's why we insisted on being almost completely bootstrapped. We're driven forward by sales. So the value of the deal that we signed with the Brazilians is around $20 million for 6 years. They have a 20,000 container fleet, so you can do the math.
Congratulations on that one. There's a question concerning Germany. Are you in talks with German shipping companies at the moment? Or?
So we're talking to everyone, really, because we have a point to prove in Brazil, and once we prove that point, we'd be ready to duplicate it with other shipping companies. A lot of eyes are in this project, which is starting, by the way, next month. We're rolling out with it. So we are talking to shipping companies. We are talking to even local shipping companies from Hamburg. Can't say because it's all discussions, but we know almost everyone and we're talking with almost everyone. But I have not issued an invoice. This is what I've said 2 days ago. I've not issued an invoice to a German company yet, and I would love it if from this meeting there will be an invoice to a German company. That's the idea.
Cool, thank you. At the moment, there's no more questions, but thank you so much, Shahar.
Thanks.
And we will talk with you later on. And now we have the last and but not least startup. And that's Progressive Labs. It's a retail management solution founded in 2014. And Yaniv Dinur, the CEO and co-founder, is worldwide recognized as a leading authority of the theory of constraints, called TOC. And I'm sure he's going to tell you a little bit more about that. And Progressive Labs has invested in developing something called KIME, K-I-M-E, a revolutionary retail management solution. And I'm also excited to hear more about that. Yaniv, the floor or the window is yours.
Thank you so much. I hope that you can see my screen because I have a problem to share it. Yeah, well, the better side of me is the screen. Can you try to see what is not working on your side? Because on my side, I cannot see the screen. Okay, I'm pushing the share screen. It doesn't work. So let me work this way. Unfortunately, so we are a software company, and our software, our SaaS software. Can you see it now? Maybe. Okay, so we are working as a demand-driven supply chain, and when we say supply chain, we are working from producers or manufacturers to all kind of wholesalers or distributors up to the retailer. And what we do is improving the inventory turns, meaning we are reducing the out of stock while reducing the overall inventory. This is for us the core problem of supply chain, and well, it will be hard to do it without sharing the screen. Let me do another attempt. Maybe it's working now. Wonderful. So So this is what we do. A little bit about the company. We were founded in 2014. We have a lot of customers over the world. And the solution, and this is what I would like to stress, that our solution is extremely fast to integrate. We are integrated to any ERP. We have integration to SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, all kinds of very old legacy systems and so on. And within the longest integration we have, it's about 3 weeks. Usually it takes much less, and the system can bring the value. Just a little bit about our, let's say, big names from our customers. So we started in Japan, Toshiba Solution, a very big, let's call it assembly company from Toshiba, was the first client in 2015. And since then, they are paying us every month. So they see the value every month. It's SaaS software, software as a service. And we changed their inventory turns from 7.2 to 12 in 6 months. We reduced the overall inventory by 44% while sales grew. And we reduced the production lead time by 40%, meaning we gave them another 40% of capacity without any investment. So we have a full success story from Toshiba. If you know Japanese, they are not so happy to share. So they were so proud of this. And therefore, they presented the case in 2017 in a very big conference in Berlin, in TOC-ICO in Berlin. I will jump to the other side of the supply chain, which is Macmillan, the third publishing house, the biggest publishing house in the US, together with 750 Barnes and Nobles shops and selling points. And they took our system for 90 days proof of concept, and they bought it after 45 days. I think it says it all. We reduced the out of stock in the shops. We reduced the overall inventory, both in shops and in the warehouses. So it was a big success until now. And I think the biggest client we have, and the most, let's say, the one that pushes us to the extreme, is Procter & Gamble. We are working in Procter & Gamble in Europe, in the oral care. And at the moment, all the Oral-B assembly plant and distribution is done by our software. And we have many others from Brazil to China, Japan, and so on. Unfortunately, in Germany, we have only one very small client called Solid Power. But I really hope that we will be able to develop. I'm saying Solid Power except what we have from Procter & Gamble there. So a little bit about the system and how we do that. So first of all, as I said, we can work here in the plant area or in the distribution area or in the retail area. And for each SKU, in each stock location, we have a buffer. And this buffer is dynamically changed every day, sometimes every hour in some production area, but usually we don't need more than once a day, according to 3 main streams of data that we get. One data that we are looking at is the historical data. Usually we look 2 years backward, and we are looking at it all the time. And with a lot of AI, we are analyzing the seasonality, the behavior of this specific SKU in this specific stock location. So this is one stream of data. Another stream of data is forecast. Okay, we all know that forecast is always wrong, but basically all supply chain is based on forecast. So we are not neglecting forecast. We have some very, very deep algorithm to look on the forecast, on forecast accuracy, and also we take the forecast in order to do some calculation on capacity if we are talking with suppliers. But if the company have forecast, especially for a special promotion and time event, which are very, very short and so on and so forth, we look on the forecast. And the third stream of data, which is maybe the most important, is what we call demand sensing. What is happening now? What is happening now to each SKU in each stock location? So you can see that from one side, we're looking at this very holistically. It's like a nerve system. We look downstream and upstream, and we take all the constraint of the system, meaning the different replenishment time, the MOQ, minimum order quantity, the batch size if it's production, packaging, of course, different level of service. I can continue and continue. So all the constraints is modeled in the system, and we can give you the best size of buffer, meaning how much you need to hold in order to prevent out of stock, but not to hold too much, to prevent the overstock. And you can see that this is a simulate one buffer that go up and down. The black line is how much inventory I have today. And this brings me to another thing, which is a priority system, very simple priority system, but helps a lot, because usually the priority system in supply chain is which customer shouts the most. In our case, it's very robust, very clear priority system. And the last thing I think is the analytical ability to look on so much amount of data and to bring to the user very, very smart understanding, and I will give you one example of that. So this is in a nutshell what we are doing. And if I can say about price and ROI, our ROI is in days, really. Just to say something, I'm not going to show, there are so many features and so on and so forth. I would just want to show you, if we are talking about manufacturers, especially assembly plant, what we call A plant, which unavailability of one bolt, and one of my colleagues just mentioned it in a different example, just the missing of one bolt will stop all the manufacturing. So if we look on this BOM, it looks quite straightforward, but this, for example, this element, this part can be part of 30 or 40 or 100 different other bill of material. And it's quite complicated. So it was very important for us not only to be very sophisticated, but to be very visual. If you see today's systems, they are very, tables and so on and so forth, but our ability to present the huge amount of data in a very visual way. So even if I have a lot of inventory that I know that my production will be, there is a flow that I can promise in my production. If there is something small which is in the red now, you will have a circle red here that will give you a red flag on time. And of course, each one of these parts have a different SKU, a different replenishment time, and a different set of constraints that you need to take into consideration. And all that is done by our system. I will run very fast. I'm not going to show you all what I plan to show you. Maybe I will talk only about that. And this is a little bit about the dashboard and why I say that our analytical way to present the data is important. This company that I present here, you can see each bar represent a warehouse in the world. And they came to us because they have a problem of capacity. And they say, how you can help us until we will build more capacity to our plants. And once we calculate the buffers, and you can see each one of them, the black meaning that it's SKUs that are out of stock, and the red meaning SKUs that are in danger, and so on. And they saw, and the signs they got from the market is about the blacks, meaning they have a lot of out of stock, and this is why they want to build more capacity. But once we calculate, according to all the constraints, what are the real buffers, we saw that there is a huge amount of buffers which are in cyan, meaning it's overstock. So they didn't have any problem of capacity. They have a problem of how to integrate or how to synchronize the demand that they saw from the market to their production. And only by presenting this very, very simple dashboard, it gives them it stopped the need from developing more capacity. The problem was how to synchronize, and we helped them with that. So this was a very, very fast presentation of Progressive Labs. Any question, please? I would try to answer.
Thank you very much, For me, the information on the theory of constraints is missing, but I will look that up on the internet. I'm sure there's some information. As I mentioned
really
before,
recommend you at least read the goal. Read the book called The Goal.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. So, a question from the audience: do you already work with automotive OEMs or tier 1 suppliers?
Sorry, can you?
Do you already work with automotive OEMs or tier 1 suppliers?
Okay. First of all, the answer is no. We had some deep discussion with Audi about 2 years ago. They came to Israel, look for startups. They choose only 3 startups to bring them to Germany to talk to the. But eventually, it didn't materialize into a contract. But we had very deep and interesting discussion with Audi. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is: can the Progressive Labs solution be implemented totally remotely?
Totally yes. Totally yes. What I can say that since what happened with the COVID-19, we are selling remotely. We are doing a huge project in one of the biggest beverage companies in Brazil. Solid Power in Germany was remotely. Yes, we have some new customers here in Israel because we never aimed to Israel. So the electrical power company, we have one big electrical company in Israel, bought our system, and some other retailers and so on and so forth, but no problem with remote integration.
Okay. For now, there's no more question. I mean, you mentioned KIME before. Is that something you want to elaborate a little bit before?
Yes, we pronounce it Kime. Kime is focus.
Okay.
Kime is focus in Japanese. And because we started in Japan, we call it, because we are trying to focus, you know, people say focus, we are focusing, and they focus on many, many things. Focusing is on what we call the bottleneck. So what we are doing is really focusing on what is needed. So this is Kime, which is focused in Japanese. So it was a short lesson in Japanese.
Okay, thank you. So now we have no more questions. And unfortunately, well, I'm sorry for the technical issues we had. Though I'm really glad that this could take place today, and we had representatives from Germany, Hamburg, of course, Israel, and also Scotland, if I remember correctly. I'm so glad this worked out, but you know, technical issues always happen. We try to be prepared, but all we can offer now is that we present the presentation of Michael afterwards. Well, 4 presentations from White Shelves, Kaha Robotics, Lugino, and then also Progressive Labs. And I'm now happy to hand over to Johannes, who you can see, but he's who you cannot see, but he's sitting right next to me. And he will now lead a short discussion. Thank you from my side. And yeah, Johannes.
Thank you, Veronica, for moderating so nicely through the 4 startups. And once again, to everybody who is still joining in, because I checked all of you stayed with us throughout the entire presentations and questions. A total of 16 questions coming in through Menti. So that all being said, once again, apologies from our side for these 2 technical hiccups. Which you at some stage probably can't avoid, bringing so many people together from so many positions around Israel, Germany, and yeah, indeed Scotland. We are now trying to start a little bit of a discussion, not going into too much technical detail on all of the 4 startups that we've heard, because I think we got a glimpse on also the questions on where some of our corporate partners who are joining us and listening to us want to go through. I had to smile here and there because I think I can picture which corporate partner asked which question. That being said, I think we heard quite some interesting insights, and I hear now in the back that our technical people are working on bringing you all together into our virtual panel discussion. So I hope that this will go technically smooth and we can see everybody on the screen again to have a few minutes of discussions on where you want to go within Germany, what you perceive maybe being one of the boundaries. Carsten has already addressed 3 of them earlier, and what we can do to in some day maybe not only bring you digitally together, but also together with Hamburg Invest and Elnet, maybe follow up on this morning crisp and short session in the future here in Hamburg or somewhere in Israel, because Veronica and me actually had planned to visit Israel earlier this year. Needless to say why we in the end didn't. So enough talk from my side. I hope that I can now do the magical twist. 1, 2, and 3. I hear that will take another few seconds to link everybody together. And then we will have an arena set up. I've moderated quite some digital events over the last month, some with a little bit more hiccups, some with a little bit less. And it's always a challenge, of course, to keep on talking. So I think I've addressed many of the aspects, and I don't want to take away some more within this monologue, because I think we've heard some really nice insights. So, as they always do on TV, taking my magical ear, and I hear that we are ready. So,
yes,
everybody, and I still see that on the screen, thanks a lot for your patience, and thanks a lot everybody online for still keeping in the loop. David, Michael, Sahar, Yanif are on board. We see Veronica, Carsten, and Victor from Elnet also joining. It's now my pleasure to, as I already said, take a few moments, maybe revise a few questions that we didn't manage to go through. And again, saying not going into too much technical detail. I think not being on one side or the other, one slide that really impressed me was Sahar's slide on how the stock price of a company can increase once you shout out that you're going digital. And in the last 6 months, we've seen a lot of crisis around the world, but we've also seen that the stock market, and especially the tech companies, are rising to new heights and not really experiencing a crisis than other sectors. That being said, and hearing that all of the Israeli startups that we heard this morning are going towards optimization, digitization, efficiency gains, we've also seen that many supply chain areas, whether it's in critical infrastructure, whether it's in healthcare, also look towards resilience. And David, Yanif, maybe a question to start with to you. Have you experienced that as well, that your clients are saying, hey, it's great that you optimize our shelves and that you optimize inventory, but what about making our inventory also resilient towards new demands in pharma, new demands in healthcare aspects? Is that an aspect that is also prominent in Israel?
I think, Jonas, that when we look on what happened with the COVID-19, and it's a big issue, I'm not going to open it. We can see two different things happening. One, supply chains are going to go shorter. People will not run to the in order to buy 2 cents cheaper to go to, I don't know, an island somewhere in the Far East to buy it. So supply chain will go shorter, but still a customer will not be willing to wait or not willing to, there is a need to buy and to buy it now. So I think, although it looks like if supply chain will shorter, some of the problem of long supply chain will solve, it will not solve it if you don't change the way you think. It will not solve it, you don't change the way you operate. So I think there is a huge call for the four of us, the four solutions that was presented. I think they are much more relevant today than they were, I don't know, when things were easy. My perspective on that.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the facts of the statistics of what customers experience, I mean, 8 to 10% of products pre-COVID, the stats were pretty out of stock, and they always the significant products. And actually, if you turn that statistic around, certainly from analysis we've got here, 40% of customers, when they go into a location, will experience at least one out of stock of something they were looking for. And then when you consider the point I think about resilience is about being able to react faster, but also more efficiently. So we have a view that things need to move much more to what I would call sort of data-driven, touch-less, intelligent stores or locations, because with what has happened with COVID, I think people have thought, well, we need to digitize more, we need to touch less, we need to be more efficient about what we do, and focusing on things that really matter. I mean, one of the interesting things that Shalom and I talked about is when the panic buying started in certain countries, we would have picked it up a lot faster if we'd had these kind of solutions in place, and maybe could have given more confidence to customers that things are going to come back in because of the way we were running the supply chain. So I think there's a long way to go, but I think all the organizations we're talking to are recognizing that things they might have thought were optional solutions are now becoming mandatory or compulsory. They have to do these things.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, have you seen throughout the last 6 months an increase in robotics demand within logistics and supply chain?
Yes, what we experienced is that it helped convince people that were working manually that they should transition to automation. And everybody has to look for the right solution for them. But what we see is that everybody that is dealing with e-commerce, with healthcare, was very interested in our solution because they wanted everything now, and this is the flexibility that we could provide. And we're also progressing with groceries linked to e-commerce, but on the grocery side, there is this shift in the state of mind of people that were buying on a traditional way that now are buying online. So yes, we see this growth in inbound leads and when we discuss with our clients.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask one question basically to all of you, but I would like to start with Carsten or Victor from Elnet. When I, as the managing director of the Digital Hub, see presentations from German startups, from European startups, but now today also from Israeli startups, I sometimes discover a little discrepancy between, on the one side, Germany always shouting out and saying we are the logistical world champion, we are the export world champion, and being on top there, being very successful in that industrial area, and being a very important cornerstone and pillar for the German economy. On the other hand, I see 4 Israeli startups, and I'm a little bit provocative here now, who have all successfully implemented their solutions and ideas and services outside Israel, but in Germany. So whether it's the US, whether it's the UK, whether it's the Netherlands, what can we do, Carsten or Victor, to set a playing field that we don't only meet here physically and exchange ideas, but that we also get action on the ground?
Well, thank you very much, Johannes. Pretty good question. Maybe I'll start, and Victor, if you think I miss anything, please just jump in and add. So I think generally with this very close strategic partnership Israel and the United States have built over years, and also with the English language is quite spread also in Israel business world. It's understandable that Israeli startups first look to the States or maybe to the UK or to other English-speaking countries, which might be more comfortable to start with. So nonetheless, I mean, the German economy with all our big corporates and also the Mittelstand, I think there are plenty of opportunities for Israeli startups looking for customers, looking for market access, but also looking for smart capital. And I think at the end, that's what all startups, no matter if from Israel or from Germany or from anywhere else, are looking for: smart capital, a partner that knows the customer very well and that has access to the partner. And as I said earlier on, the hurdles German companies are facing when going to Israel. So not knowing with whom to talk first, not knowing which startups really have a solid working product and which are maybe just visionary working on some idea. It's the other way around also probably for startups coming abroad. And I think here Elnet, but also our partners like Hamburg Invest and Digital Hub Logistics can play a major role in being the facilitator, being the translator, being the bridge builder, because we have the network, in this case in Hamburg. And if it comes to logistics, Hamburg still is, fortunately, Germany's gateway to the world. And if you want to get a foothold into the European market, you should start in Hamburg, right?
Definitely. Victor, anything to add there to what Karsten has said, or are you totally in line with that?
I'm totally aligned with it, but I would maybe just add one thing. That besides all the need for getting into connection with each other, maybe there is also a need for a small change of way of thinking on the German side, that you have to be open to new solutions, you have to be open to new ways to do things you are doing now for centuries, and just to give new solutions a try. You know, the new solutions are not always all of the good ones. So that's what I would add.
Veronica and me in particular, we are of course sitting here talking with you and talking to some corporates who are joining us this morning with the intention to not only make this one morning of looking into a camera and joining a webinar, but taking the ambition of what Sahar has said, being able to send invoices, being able to provide the startups with a playing field that they are able to send invoices, hopefully to Hamburg and Germany-based logistics companies. So here goes my question to the four startups, and feel free, whoever wants to ask that first. Are there any particular wishes or ideas from your side that we can do in order to link you up, to hook you up beyond exchanging the presentation that you've showed this morning, beyond exchanging the personal contacts? If you have anything on your mind, just let us know, and you can be straightforward, you can be offensive, because the corporates are watching. Feel free to shout out what your wishes are.
Well, with your permission, I will start because I will.
Of course.
Look, we started to work. The first continent, the first place that we started to work was Japan, and we have a big success in Japan. We have a company there. We have people there on the ground. So, if we talk about different language, if we talk about different culture, and there is, I think that Israeli companies are expert, because Israel is so small, because we almost don't have a market here. We really are very flexible and very, I think we have the tools to work even in Germany. and I'm now speaking for for all the four companies or all the companies from Israel. So I really think that there is a need for this kind of communication. We need help in Germany. We need to have this connection. I promise to disturb you. I promise to send you emails. Don't worry about that. Victor, be prepared. Also you. Anyhow, I really want to use this opportunity because we are about to finish to thank you for this webinar. I think it was needed and it's a good start from our side.
Sahar, Michael, David, any further wishes?
Yeah,
this is your time.
Sorry, Sahar, do you want to?
Yeah, just a small thing. Since we're very focused on what we want to achieve in terms of customers or partners that we want to do, there's usually very little companies. I mean, since it's a very crowded market, usually there are very little companies that we haven't discussed with. However, we know that the market is huge. These kind of events, and I'm happily participating in any events that can bring corporates and startups together, usually come up with things that we don't know. The best that we can do is to spread the word. For us, for example, it's about Contopia, and hope that in the crowd there will be someone who says, it's a good idea. If I'm not the direct customer, which is a shipping company, I mean, in Germany, there are very few shipping companies, and these are the targets that we need. Other than that, the entire logistics chain, they can all help. They can all come to a shipping company. They can all demonstrate values. If any one of the corporates that are sitting here has a box fleet of its own, then we could do something directly. But we usually use this event, and this event is not different, to really spread the word and throw the fish hook, and let's see if anyone is interested. That's and things have happened from these events. A lot of connections were made, especially for me. But something specific, but if you have a box fleet, come talk to us.
I would just add to that to say, in terms of where you can help, I think help with focus. So help companies like ours to know where to focus, understand the differences, the local differences. I mean, I've done business in Germany, but there's always things one can learn that are different as particularly as times change. I think encourage the communication both ways. I mean, we need to be able to listen to the things that would have a really big impact and make a difference to the clients' businesses. And we would ask then, obviously, listen to the ideas we've got, and then I would say have the courage to try things. Let's scope pilots with success criteria and actually work on them together and get some results. And then that's the best thing. Once you start to see a result, then everybody gets confident, and you can build from there.
I definitely agree with what David just said regarding the ability to try. I've been 3 years in that company, and I see a shift since Germany is like a real focus for us. We saw a shift in the state of mind to go towards startups, innovation, and we really appreciate that and respect that. And this kind of events helps also, they help to close the gap between big corporates and the startups, and going for a pilot, going for just to try sometimes at no or low cost can help sometimes just make teams know each other, better understand the technology, and go into the details to confirm that there is a good fit. So this pilot, and there are teams in the many big corporates that are dedicated to that, but just the ability to go toward the stakeholder and decision maker and say, let's try, let's see what's going on, and if it's at a low cost, even more interesting. This is what we are looking for most of the time.
Thank you. So if I learned one thing over the last 6 months running these webinars, it's the thing to not over necessarily prolong things. And we are approaching the end slowly of this morning session. And before I hand over for a final word from Carsten and Veronica, I would like to, first of all, thank you all for joining this morning. Thanks to our corporate partners who kept in the line for the whole time, despite some minor technical hiccups. Thank you very, very much to the 4 startups. As I said, we will now, in the aftermath, start to exchange your contact details and presentations in order to, what Michael has just said, let's try to take the next level after this webinar. I would like to thank Carsten, Victor, and the entire team of Elnet, who have done a really great job in arranging this whole thing, in doing the scouting in Israel, in bringing us in contact with the 4 startups. I think that has been a very nice experience over the last weeks, and I look forward to take the next steps in that, and not making this the first and last thing that we do together, but to embark on a closer cooperation with Elnet. And finally, thank you, Veronica, for your moderation this morning, and for the support that we always gratefully receive and accept from Hamburg Invest. That being said, from my side, goodbye from the Digital Hub, and I would now like to hand over to first Carsten for a closing remark, and then to Veronica. Carsten, the floor is yours.
So, okay. Thank you very much, Johannes, and also thank you very much, Veronica, for co-hosting this event together with us today. I think Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Believe you can, and you are halfway there." So having said that, Elnet Germany will announce in a couple of weeks the foundation of a new program we call the German-Israeli Network of Startups and Mittelstand. If I may say so, Johannes, we can already say that the Digital Hub Logistics will play a major role in that and will be one of our partners in Hamburg. So stay tuned for the official announcement. I hope to see you on one of the next events, and well, actually, as you usually say when it comes to Israel, and next year in Jerusalem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much also from my side, of course. Thank you to the partners, but also the startups and all the people in the audience, of course. Thank you for donating your time, and I hope that something fruitful will come out of this. And I really liked what Yaniv said. This webinar was a good start, but we should really follow up on this. And I mean, the current global situation is grim, but hopefully next year it will be a lot better. And I hope we can do a personal follow-up here in the Digital Hub Logistics, which is also a great start for the 4 startups. So let me personally invite you for next year to come to Hamburg. Since Carsten just announced a project, I would like to also say that we had planned a big event in Tel Aviv for December this year, which will then now be digital, and the focus will also be on logistics. So it's possible I will get in touch with you again for this. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm waving. And have a lovely day, and I hope it's sunny wherever you are, and yeah, bye.